Hello, guys. So, welcome to episode number 21 of the Third Man Cricket Podcast. Here we are, Pavandeep and RaviTeja, back with a new episode. This time, we're going to, cover uh, the India tour of England with our main men battling it out in a five-match Test series. It's much awaited, especially after the World Test Championship final drubbing, which necessarily didn't go our way, though boys did show up some spirited performance, especially with the ball, if not necessarily with the bat. And I think that's something every one of us are looking forward to. So here we go. So for the first test, pretty much starts at Trent Bridge, Nottingham, an historic venue. With the second at Lords, third test being played at Leeds, fourth at in London again at Oval, and fifth one at the historic Old Trafford, Manchester. So we have Pavandeep with us. Hello, Baya. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ravi. Hope you're doing fine as well. And all of us are eagerly looking forward to this much awaited test series.
Indeed. So, firstly, I wanted to ask you the main important question. Firstly, how excited are you for the World Test? I mean, for the new Test series, the new Test circuit for that matter, in the new World Test Championship season two, I can say. And more importantly, how important do you think is it for the Virat Kohli, the captain, especially after a not so great performance in the World Test Championship finale, and also mainly because we did put up a better or a probably more spirited show in Australia, wherein he was not necessarily around. So of course there are nuances in that discussion, but nonetheless, I wanted to kind of start off this very episode on that note.
Yeah, I think it's a very important series from an Indian point of view. And I would say that the World Test Championship uh, is just a subplot in the scheme of things. And the bigger picture is how is the Indian team going to perform in England? Because after 2007, in the last 14 years, we have played, I think, three series over there and lost all the three series pretty emphatically in
Mhm.
2011, 2014, and 2018. And the current regime under Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri has possibly won Test series in all the countries, barring England, South Africa, and New Zealand. So, as part of this World Test Championship cycle, they will definitely get the opportunity to travel to England and South Africa this year. And the journey starts from England. So, they've always prided themselves on calling this Indian team better and different from the earlier ones. So if they have to really prove that to the team, then they have got to win this series, and no other result apart from that would be apt and satisfying for them or for the millions of other cricket fans. Um, and like you mentioned, a five test match series is a grueling series, and we get a lot of opportunities to make comeback as well. And last time we were there 3 years ago, the score line of 4-1 would not do justice to the way we played and lost a couple of close encounters where we were found wanting when we had our foot on the throat of the opposition and had to go for the kill. But that proved to be our Achilles heel. So I think in that overall context, it's a very important series and possibly the last chance for Virat Kohli, the captain, to uh, prove his credentials and his team's credentials in England, because such overseas tours happen once in 3 or 4 years only. Having said that, I think as far as the composition of the Indian squad is concerned, again, it's been a challenging time with COVID-19 going on. And we've already had multiple people ruled out of the series due to injuries in the warm-up game. And the latest that we heard was Mayank Agarwal, who was supposed to fill in the opener slot uh, in that first test match, is also not going to be available uh, due to a concussion-related injury in the nets. So it remains to be seen who do we go ahead with as the opener in this test match. Uh, I would personally go for somebody like a KL Rahul, although they have mentioned that he is a middle order prospect. I don't know what has made them say that and change tracks wherein uh, Lokesh Rahul has always been an opening batsman right from his underage cricket days and into domestic cricket. So I would like to see him partner with Sharma. The middle order is pretty much settled for India with Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane. I think this is going to be an acid test for all three of them, and the build-up from the team management will be such that they're going to place Rahane and Pujara under the spotlight, and I pity those guys because when the batting unit fails collectively, it's more or less these are the guys who are made scapegoats. So Pujara has a fantastic record in Australia, but he has been found wanting in England against the swinging ball, and the likes of Anderson and Broad will not make it much easier for him. It remains to be seen if Rishabh Pant is also going to be available for the series and has recovered from his bout of corona. He would easily slot in at number six, and I would see uh, a call to be taken by the Indian management, seeing the conditions if they want to go in with the extra batsman plus Rishabh Pant or go in with five bowling options with Ravindra Jadeja as the all-rounder, just like we did in the World Test Championship. Uh, but if they see a green pitch over there, I don't think we would require five bowlers, four bowlers, three seamers plus one spinner should do the job for India. In that case, you would want to beef up your batting and have somebody like Hanuman Vihari in the scheme of things. I don't know if Surya Kumar Yadav or Prithvi Shaw are going to be in contention. The last I read was they're only going to be available from the third test match after they have satisfied their quarantine requirements.
That's
But
right.
if things don't go well in the first two test matches, they might want to, take a gamble and play either of these guys. Um, so I think we've got most of our bases covered as far as batting is concerned, and uh, I would also, like to see if they get in something like a Abhimanyu Ishwaran into scheme of things. Because once you have selected a person based on the domestic performances, and if the first choice player is not available, you would want to give the next man the opportunity. Uh, we have seen the recent selection committee stand up against the likes of Kohli and Shastri and say that even though the players are injured, you should make use of whatever resources are available and have been selected before the tour. But I think again they have had their way and had these replacements flown in, which does a lot of damage to the psyche and confidence of the players who are selected in the first place, and they start to doubt themselves whether they are good enough to represent the country at the highest level. So I'm a firm believer once you have selected somebody who has done the hard yards in domestic cricket, you should not discard them at least before giving them a fair trial in the team. Um Priti Mansah is a backup wicketkeeper, and I don't see him playing in the team unless and until Rishabh Pant is injured and not available. That's pretty straightforward. And when it comes to the spinning options, we've got reliable pair of Ashwin Jadeja and Akshar Patel at the backup. Akshar will take a lot of confidence from his performance against England at home, but he will also know that he is going to get pitches that are nowhere close to what he bowled in that series earlier this year. And it remains to be seen if the Indian management is ready to take a tough decision in case they have to play only one spinner. Logic says that Aljan and Ashwin would get the nod, and he's been in good form and by playing a couple of county matches as well. Uh, but Jadeja again brings three skills to the table and is a better batsman and a fielder than Ashwin. So the team management might like to try to weigh that options and also see how many left-handers are there in the English camp for taking that decision. And the final department, which is a pace bowling department, is pretty much settled and variety of options in there. Just that they would need the likes of Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami to fire on all cylinders. Bumrah has been a bit off color. That could be due to lack of cricket, and he would himself be wanting to go out and prove uh, himself in the series. I would say England better watch out for him. Mohammad Shami again was the best bowler in that World Test Championship for India, and also like Bumrah will hold the key. It remains to be seen whether uh, they go in with Ishan Sharma or Mohammad Siraj as the third bowling option. Uh, because there is a dearth of swing bowlers in this lineup. You don't want your pace battery to become unidimensional. Siraj is a swing bowler, so he might get the nod ahead of somebody like Ishant Sharma if conditions are apt. And we've got the likes of Shardul Thakur and Umesh Yadav also in this scheme of things. Umesh also is a swing bowler by nature, but has been found wanting as far as consistency is concerned. Shardul basically has done nothing much wrong in the limited opportunities he's got. He's a king swing bowler as well and is very handy with the bat, the Gabba. So it's going to be a sweet headache, I would say, for the Indian management to choose their playing level. And as it happens always, if you choose the 11 and you end up on the right side of the result, then no questions are asked. But if the result does not go your way, then we'll start questions about the playing 11. So the double-edged sword over there that Kohli and Shastri snapped. I think we have most of the bases covered to win the series. It's not a question of presenting a challenge to England. It's a question of winning the series, and I think nothing less than that would satisfy fans and team in that regard. So that is my point of view as far as the Indian side is concerned. I would like to take your view on that, and also if you can shed some light on the England squad and what you think about it.
Yep, sure thing. I think largely agreed by. Mainly with respect to the Indian attack, right? Uh, Mayank not being available, I'll not say it's a very big impact, but nonetheless, I'm not very sure if it would is lay straight walk into the playing 11, but it's still once some sort of a complication that we could have definitely probably, if not avoided, at least would not have imagined uh, or at least would not want to have for that matter. KL Rahul and Ravindra Jadeja both have done really well in the warm-up games and also, of course, have been good, apparently in good touch. Uh, but especially with Nottingham, what I honestly sense is that, I personally prefer to go with four seamers and one spinner of Ashwin, Siraj playing, Ishant playing, Mohammad Shami playing Jasprit as well. But in a situation that we can't accommodate, or probably if we actually feel that the tail is something that will just not wag up, bearing Mohammad Shami, right? It's important for us to probably think about Shardul Thakur, maybe in someone in place of Ishant Sharma. Uh, of course, that wasn't very an exciting or an inspiring performance from Bumrah. But at the same time, it's important to note that he did bowl some amazing deliveries in the World Test Championship finale. Not necessarily to point out for a fact that he's gone wicketless or not, didn't really live up to his expectations. So, bowling is where the question is, and I personally feel I think we should still go with four seamers, maybe have Shardul Thakur in place because he can do that good amount of bat and he can give that good amount of batting option as well. What else I really wanted to talk was that, I was listening to the press conference and I always feel this. I think Virat tends to speak up more than he's supposed to. He's not necessarily that I'll say a skipper who keeps it low or probably has his own thoughts hovering in his head, but he tends to be quite vocal about it. Just like the New Zealand tour, wherein he spoke about people, I mean players' intent and whatnot. Similar comments were again passed on yesterday. And of course, like you rightly pointed out, that definitely throws some light on the situation of Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar. Uh, Pujara and his Australian efforts can't be undermined just because he didn't have numbers or probably in terms of at least runs scored. But at the same time, I honestly feel Rahane is in that very zone wherein he has to be answerable for his bad form that has continued. Even so more because even if he gets a handsome 40, the way he gets out is actually, gets onto a lot of nerves. I mean, it's quite infuriating at times because he looks so much at ease and then plays one, not even a stupid shot, but, probably an atrocious shot wherein it would it would be absolutely avoidable, or just had to keep his cool at that very moment. So and of course today we've seen some amount of outrage from especially the Bombay quarters of players and fans, wherein they're complaining about how could Virat definitely say that. But I honestly think uh, he's had a point to make, wherein we are questioning about a player or two spot, or not necessarily they're cemented just because we won a crazy tournament right down under, or probably is around for his leadership qualities per se. So I think that is a fair point, but of course, was it required, or probably was it an issue that could have been resolved right within the dressing room, is of course a different argument to have, and it probably straightly relates to, or kind of it gets attributed to the captain that we have and his characteristics for that matter. Coming to the second, I'll say conflict that we have, if not a conflict, at least a choice that we have is definitely with respect to, I'll say, Hanuvai Vihari's availability. I've been reading reports, and that he's been doing fairly well at nets, and he's seeming to be quite confident. But at the same time, will he get the nod is still a question. Let's not rule out KL Rahul is my first choice opener, but I won't be surprised if Hanuma Vihari opens the innings tomorrow with Rohit Sharma. He's done once in the past, and he's done many times in the first class cricket as well. But he's done once in the past at Melbourne, if I'm not wrong, along with Mayank Agarwal. So it's an evolving situation. We never know what could be the possibility. But of course, the first choice will definitely be KL Rahul with Rohit, and of course, I think I'm pretty sure Cheteshwar Pujara and Jinx will definitely play tomorrow with Rishabh Pant as our keeper, and of course. Ashwin pretty much selects himself. Of course, the county game that he's played was far more a turning track, not necessarily a track wherein uh, probably something that we could perhaps expect tomorrow. It will not necessarily be very favorable to him, but nonetheless, it would be interesting to see, if Jaddu will actually get a go. But I personally think we'll still go ahead with four seamers and one spinner of Ashwin. Or as you rightly pointed out, will we be slotting in a specialist batsman, be it Vihari, or probably may just play Jaddu as a specialist batsman, never know. But yeah, it's called, I mean, once the game starts, we Indian fans have this habit to look back and say, okay, we should have done this, we should have done that. Just imagine World Test Championship, Bumrah being dropped for Siraj, and Siraj not doing much, the kind of outrage that would have been on Shastri and Virat. uh, and I think we'll pretty much see such movements even more. But it's about that gut taking a call, and I'm pretty confident that Bumrah will get a place tomorrow. He will start, but I just don't want to see Siraj losing out on for any reason. So that would be interesting to see again. So that's my take on playing 11. I think you largely put out what I wanted to come as well. So with respect to India, that's where I'm placed at. England's is a tricky scene. There were reports. I mean, Michael Vaughan also hinted of, hinted at something wherein he was suggesting that probably there could be no spinner being played. Stuart Broad, the local boy at Trent Bridge, Nottingham, James Anderson, the legend out there. Definitely, there are going to be good amount of clouds minded. Day 2 to day 5, there is good amount of rain as well. And if you're kind of batting second and there are clouds, and under those clouds is James Anderson, I'm pretty sure he's going to wreak havoc. Holly Robinson is again back into the picture after the fiasco that he's faced, and would be interesting if they would prefer someone like a Dom Bess or a Jack Leach over or someone like a Mark Wood for that matter. So see, Joe Root is not a bat spinner again, so it's very much possible that Dom Best may sit out, and there would be just four seamers out and not playing, which could possibly be Ollie Robinson, Mark Wood, Stuart Broad, and James Anderson. They definitely would miss someone like a Jofra Archer, of course, and also someone like a Ben Stokes, but it is what it is. Also, there is the 100 happening, and of course, there's a lot of combinations and permutations, and a pool of probably 40 to 50 players that ECB looks at. But I still personally think England are the favorites, especially at Nottingham, given the conditions, and also those comments by James Anderson today, where he was suggesting that, or I'm not very sure if it was James or Stuart Broad, where he was suggesting that there could be good amount of grass, just left it out because you didn't really play a fair game back in India, wherein it was all dry and dusty and kind of like a sandpaper. So that's my take on England's bowling, at least. Coming to batting, Rory Burns has played an amazing county innings recently. Uh, Zach Crawley will be back again into the picture. Uh, Dan Lawrence again is in the picture once again. Ben Fowkes is out because of an injury, I hear. So, of course, the wicket keeping is not necessarily a concern. Holly Pop and Johnny Bairstow both can keep, and I think uh, they can pretty much do those duties. So it's still a wide pool that England can choose from, and it would be still interesting to see who would their playing 11 be. But I personally think the only certainty in England is the criteria of not having a spinner being played tomorrow, especially with the conditions that we're going to see. So that's my take on England and India.
Good. Yeah, I would also fancy playing the spinner in there always, but I don't think England would go ahead with that plan. And that's fair enough when James Anderson says that India should not expect any graciousness from us. And every team plays to its home advantage. And in the recent 5 or 6 years, we know that most of the teams have only won at home, and barring a couple of series, it's been a struggle overseas. Their batting has been a huge problem for a period of time now, so the pressure will really be on the top three, which is Burns, Sibley, and Crawley. Root, um, Oli Pope, I heard, is in doubt with some kind of an injury, so they might bring in Johnny Bairstow at number 5, and then Josh Butler would be at number 6 and handle the wicket-keeping duties. Um, their balance has taken a beating since Ben Stokes is not available due to personal reasons. And I sense that they're going to operate with a four-pronged team attack and pack their side with 6 batsmen plus Josh Butler, uh, being the conditions in Tunbridge and hope of exploiting the conditions over there. It's going to be their big bet. But Tunbridge has been a ground where India has not lost since 2011. I mean, 2007 they won the Test match over there, and that helped them win the series. 2011 we were in a good position, and then Stuart Broad had that amazing spell, and then we lost that match, which we should have won. In 2014, it was a draw because it was a dull pitch. You couldn't imagine a 10 cricket partnership of considerable runs between Joe Root and James Anderson. So if James Anderson could bat for a couple of sessions, you can imagine it was just like a road over there. And in 2018, obviously, the only test match that we won emphatically in that series was in Tunbridge. So overall, we've got a good record. Just how we adjust to the conditions. We have been there for quite some time now in England. That will obviously not be an excuse. Lack of practice games cannot be an excuse because this team does not believe in practice matches, which is absolutely absurd as far as I understood. Uh, and they only requested for the practice match after losing the World Test Championship final. Uh, but originally India was supposed to play India A in practice match. So all in all, I think promises to be a good contest. On paper, India is definitely the superior side, but matches are never played on paper and on the field over there. So it remains to be seen. But the Indian team should be or will be hugely disappointed if they do not come on the right side of the result at the end of the series.
Oh, yes. What's more important for India is definitely for batting to actually respond, wherein there are at least 4 to 5 players scoring 40 odd or 50 odd. That's where we've been losing games, right? When you go back to 2018 in South Africa, and then again the recent World Test Championship finale as well. I don't think bowling necessarily disappointed. I've been making that point. It's a very important uh, for batting also to do what they're supposed to do. And nonetheless, I think that's where the question is tomorrow. once we start the game, and would be interesting, I'd say. And also India, you know, have kind of not necessarily announced a playing 11 right before the game. They generally, they did the same with World Test Championship as well, wherein they announced the playing 11 one day before, and I think they would be waiting to see probably how the weather conditions will evolve, perhaps, or probably there's still some amount of confusion with respect to uh, maybe I'm not sure if there's any fitness concerns or any stiffness observed in certain players. So that would be one interesting thought. So if there's nothing more from your side, Ponba, if there's any other point, feel free. But if not, I wanted to know what would your prediction be for the entire series, and of course for this game as well. And then most importantly, who do you think will get the most wickets for India, and who do you think will get the most runs for India? And of course, the player of the series as well. It could be on the other side as well.
Yeah, I again predict the Indian series victory, and I think it should be 2-1 or 3-1 in favor of India. I expect them to win at least a couple of test matches in this series. And I am expecting Jasprit Bumrah to be the leading wicket taker as far as India is concerned. And I'm sincerely hoping that either of Pujara or Rahane score the most number of runs for Team India. Just like that, I am a test match romantic and I support players who exclusively play for uh, Indian test cricket. They're always the underdogs and not in limelight. And it'll be an acid test for Rohit Sharma as well. If he can come out unscathed as an opener out of this test series, that'll be fantastic. And it will allow everybody to shut up their mouths and accept Rohit as an all-round test match player.
Mhm.
Uh, Either of these three score runs for India, that will be absolutely great as far as I'm concerned. And then you cannot ignore the likes of Anderson and Broad, the old war horses um, for England. In Anderson has uh, his most number of wickets against a single opposition in India. So I'm expecting either of them to be more lethal in the series. And with the bat, I think Joe Root or Rory Jones might be the player to watch out for from an English point of view in this series. So overall, we want to watch some good test cricket, good fighting test cricket. Hopefully, India wins the series 2-1 or 3-1. What about you, Ravi?
Well, I was not very happy with you not mentioning Virat Kohli, those 3 to 4 batsmen that you just mentioned, Bombay. Not because I'm not a great, huge Virat Kohli fan, but I'm genuinely wanting to see him score that 100, which is probably good 18 months now, perhaps. In the last being in November 2019 against Bangladesh. The wait still continues across formats. So, of course, I mean, to be very honest, I think Virat would is pumped up, and I hope he is the most leading run scorer for India, and I hope uh, he is leading run scorer provided he scores 550 or 600 plus, like the last time around, and I hope he's not the leading run scorer scoring just a meager 300 or so. Uh, Having said that, yeah, like you rightly pointed out, it's important for us to see what Rohit would do to prove his prowess, and of course, I'm pretty sure there'll be a 100 for sure, but which one I'm not very sure. Again, I think it would be a 2-1 victory to India. We could see a cup, maybe a test or two being affected with rain, and hence a couple of draws is what I fancy. Nonetheless, I think my man of the series would be Virat Kohli. Most runs will be again Virat Kohli. Naturally, I think most wickets. I think it would be a close fight between Bumrah and Siraj, with Bumrah with a better edge. And to be honest, I'll be very happy even if it's a 2-all with us kind of walking back with the trophy nonetheless, because we'll be retaining the trophy for that matter. So that's my take. On any other final points to make?
I think that sums it up really well, and it really um, uh, builds up to an intriguing test series to look forward to. And that's the beauty of a five test match series, that you get to see all the ebbs and flows of the game across various situations. and it's a grueling test of one's physical and mental strength as well. Uh, but I'll be honest, at least for the first test match, with the Olympics concurrently going on, I keep an eye on both the cricket and the Olympic Games, especially what the Indian athletes are up to. Tomorrow for sure, especially concurrently, it will be the start of the test match, and we'll have the Indian women play the hockey semi-final. So I probably watch that game and on the sidelines just keep following the score until that match is done.
Yes, the Indian mornings are also quite full with the boxing semi-final also, and also the wrestling much awaited being kind of kicking off tomorrow. Of course, we're all quite excited, and we hope India does well on any corner of the world wherever they're competing in any type of sport. So, oh yes, so thanks a lot, Pawan Bhaiya, for your time today, and of course, we'll be coming back with the reviews as well in due course of time. And yeah, of course, thanks for your support so far, and let's hope India win this series, and India will do well in the Olympics as well with bagging few more medals. That's about it.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.